Okay.
Ten, the minutes until the next name is added to the national waiting list. 20, the number of people who die each day on average. 8, the number of lives that can be saved by one person. What are these numbers about? Organ donation. Why should organ donation matter to you? Because you or a loved one may very well one day be the recipient of this life-saving gift. I am qualified to talk about this issue because I am a strong believer in organ donation and am a registered organ donor myself. I've attended Donate Life ceremonies and have been fascinated by the stories shared by organ donation recipients as well as the families of organ donors. There's also a special place in my heart for organ donation. My aunt is an organ donation recipient. Today, I will be talking to you about the Living Legacy Foundation of Maryland, or LLF for short, our local organ procurement organization, and how you can support it. I will begin by sharing with you the history of organ donation and the LLF, as well as the need for organ donors. Then I will discuss some myths about organ donation, and finally, I will share with you the benefits of becoming an organ donor and how easy it is to register to give this life-saving gift. Let's begin with the history of organ procurement and donation and why there is a need for donors. As of October 29th of this year, there were 114,476 people on the national waiting list, waiting for an organ. That same day in Maryland, there were 3,496 local people on that waiting list. Maybe even someone you know. There's a problem, and that problem is the need for more that there are enough organ donors. In 2016, more than 7,000 people on that waiting list died that year. How did we get here? In 1954, the first successful kidney transplant was performed. It was the third successful type of transplant, following the cornea in 1906 and a skin transplant in 1869, according to organdonor.gov. In 1968, a pivotal year for organ donation and procurement, the first organ procurement organization was established in Boston. Also that year, the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act was drafted. It established a uniform donor card, which was recognized in all 50 states. It also identified who could donate a deceased person's organs and enabled anyone over the age of 18 to legally donate his or her organs. From 1984 to 1986, the first contract for establishment and operation of the Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network was awarded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to the United Network for Organ Sharing, UNOS. In 1990, here locally, the Transplant Resource Center of Maryland was formed by merging the Maryland Organ Procurement Center and the University of Maryland Tissue Bank and Laboratory. And several years later, they changed their name to the Living Legacy Foundation of Maryland. In 2001, sadly, the number of living donors exceeded the number of deceased donors in the United States. In 2009, the Maryland Donor Registry was launched in partnership with the MVA so that Marylanders had two ways to register: when they applied or renewed a driver's license, or by registering online. Now that you've learned some history of organ donation and the Living Legacy Foundation, let's clarify some misconceptions about organ donation. Not everything scary or terrible you hear about organ donation is true. There are many myths surrounding organ donation, some of which include age. Some people might think they're too old to be an organ donor. Not true. Anyone can register to be an organ donor, regardless of their age or medical history. Some people might think they're too sick. There are very few automatic disqualifications for becoming an organ donor. Taking organs before you're dead, or perhaps the hospital workers not working as hard to save you if they know you're an organ donor. Huge myth. In fact, once you're declared dead, there's several tests that take place to make sure you really are. Also, the paramedics, doctors, the nurses, the hospital workers don't usually know that you're even a registered organ donor until after you're deceased and they have that conversation with your family. Major religions promote and even endorse organ donation. According to the U.S. Government Information on Organ Donation and Transplantation, many of these religions include Catholicism, Islam, Judaism, and Mormon. Also, the cost. It sounds very expensive. But, as a donor, there is no cost to your family for donating an organ. Hopefully, I've been able to dispel some myths about organ donation for you and ease your mind a bit about registering to become an organ donor. Let me now explain to you the benefits of becoming a donor and how easy it is to register to give the gift of life. The greatest gift you can give to someone is life. One deceased donor can save the lives of up to 8 people. They can give an organ, or part of an organ, an eye, or some tissue at the time of their death. A heart, a lung, a kidney, a liver, intestines, or pancreas are also some things that deceased organ donors can pass to others. There's also such thing as living donors. You can save a life while you're living and see what happens. As a living donor, you actually save the lives of 2 people, the recipient of your organ or part of your organ, and also the next person on that waiting list, who has to wait for one less person to receive a transplant before they do. Living donors can donate a kidney, part of their liver, or bone marrow. Registering to become an organ donor in Maryland is fast, easy, and free. You can register when you apply or renew your driver's license by checking a small checkbox on the application. You can also register online at donatelifemaryland.org. Now that you've learned how easy it is to register as an organ donor in Maryland, let's review what I've discussed. We talked about the Living Legacy Foundation of Maryland, the LLF, and how you can support it. I explained some history of organ procurement, as well as the LLF, and then clarified some misconceptions and hopefully dispelled some myths you may have heard about organ donation. Finally, I explained to you how easy it is to register to become an organ donor. So, what if you didn't have to wait so long for a life-saving transplant if you were on that list? What if you could shorten the organ wait list by a gift to others? I implore you to register to become an organ donor and even consider becoming a living donor. Have the conversation with your loved ones. Let them know your wishes and find out theirs. Maybe you can change someone else's mind. The simple steps I explained to register could be the key to you helping save the lives of others. Remember, one person can save the life of up to 8 other people. Denise Sims, a registered nurse and organ recovery coordinator of the Southwest Transplant Alliance, said in the 2002 documentary, No Greater Love, "When there's nothing left you can do for yourself, do you want to do something for someone else?"